You have thought about it. Standing in the gym you already pay for, headphones in, waiting for a rack, doing the arithmetic in your head. 400 members, $50 a month. That is $20,000 arriving every month through a door you would own. The equipment is bought once and sits there for a decade. The members pay whether they show up or not. It looks like the closest thing to passive income that exists in the physical world. It is one of the most capital-intensive businesses a normal person can buy, and the entire model is quietly built on your customers never using the thing they are paying for. Start with the ticket price, because it is the first number that ends most of these daydreams. Building an independent gym from an empty commercial shell required roughly $610,000 in startup capital for the average United States fitness club in 2024. That is not the fantasy version with the sauna. That is the average. If you go the franchise route instead, the numbers are disclosed in a legal document called the Franchise Disclosure Document, which the Federal Trade Commission requires every franchisor to hand you at least 14 days before you sign anything. Read Item 7. It is the only honest page in the sales process. Anytime Fitness, in its 2025 filing, puts the total investment to open a single location at between $458,826 and $907,607. The franchise fee alone ran between $22,500 and $42,500. Planet Fitness, in its 2026 filing, puts the range at $1,282,500 to $5,386,000 per club. The franchise fee is $40,000. They expect $1.5 million in liquid capital and a net worth north of $3 million, and they would strongly prefer you commit to 5 to 10 locations rather than one. So the discount gym charging $15 a month is not a small business. It is a real estate development project wearing a tank top. Now the costs nobody Googles. Licenses, permits and insurance land somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 before you open the door. Business license, health department sign-off, fire safety certification and a posted occupancy limit. A certificate of occupancy that can be held hostage for months by a single inspector who does not like your emergency exit width. General liability insurance on a business whose customers voluntarily place heavy metal objects above their own heads. Then the ones that surprise people. You are playing music in a commercial space, which means you owe a public performance license. Not to Spotify, to the performing rights organizations. ASCAP and BMI each want a separate annual blanket license priced off your square footage and your occupancy, generally running from a few $100s to a few $1,000s a year for a typical club. Skip it and the enforcement letters arrive with statutory damages attached. You are also selling long-term prepaid contracts to consumers, which puts you under state health club statutes. Many states require health studios to register with the state and post a surety bond specifically to protect members who prepaid for a gym that closes. You are, in the eyes of a state attorney general, holding other people's money. Your building must satisfy the Americans with Disabilities Act. Accessible routes between equipment, accessible locker rooms, accessible showers. Retrofitting that into a converted retail unit is a construction cost, not a paperwork cost. And the equipment. A commercial treadmill runs roughly $3,000 to $8,000. A power rack $2,000 to $5,000, and you need many of both. Almost nobody buys this in cash. You finance it, which means a monthly payment that arrives on the 15th for the next 60 months, regardless of what happened in the building. So you are open. Now zoom all the way in to one member. The average gym membership in the United States costs about $58 a month. But the Health and Fitness Association, the trade body formerly known as IHRSA, measures the number that actually matters, annual revenue per member. It comes to roughly $517. $517 a year is about $43 a month. The gap between the $58 sticker and the $43 reality is the discounts, the freezes, the promotional months, the cancellations mid-cycle. It is the tax you pay on the way people actually buy gym memberships. At the budget end, it gets thinner still. Planet Fitness Classic memberships start at $15 a month. The black card starts at $24.99. There is a $49 annual fee bolted on, and that annual fee is not a rounding error. On a $15 membership, one $49 charge in a single month is worth more than 3 months of dues. Hold that thought. It becomes the whole business later. Because a member who visits at industry average frequency, about 1.5 times a week, is using your building roughly 6.5 times a month. At $43, that member is paying you a little over $6 a visit for unlimited access to $400,000 of equipment, hot water, towels, staffed hours, and climate control. $6. Now the burn, monthly fixed costs for a gym run between $10,000 and $50,000. Rent is typically 20 to 40% of that. Payroll is 40 to 50%. A mid-size club can carry $42,600 a month in fixed operating expense, with $28,000 of it going to rent alone. $28,000 a month is $336,000 a year, before you have turned on a single light. And here is the structural cruelty of this specific business. Every one of those costs is fixed, and none of them care about your traffic. The rent does not fall in February when the resolution crowd evaporates. The equipment note does not pause. If you sold 24-hour access, and most gyms now do, you are heating, cooling, and lighting an empty building from midnight to 5 in the morning. Every night, forever. The lease has a term of 5 to 10 years and a personal guarantee attached, which means the debt is not really the gym's. It is yours. So how do you survive a business where the average customer pays $6 a visit? You do not. Not with that customer. You survive on the customer who never comes. This is the fact that reframes the entire industry. Roughly 2/3 of gym members rarely or never use the membership they are paying for. Americans spend on the order of $1 billion a year on memberships they do not touch, and the ones who do come are coming less than they used to. Average visit frequency has slid to about 1.5 times per week, down from just over 2 before the pandemic. Your gym is not a fitness business. It is a subscription business that sells access to a physical space, and it is priced on the mathematical certainty that most people will not claim what they bought. Do you want to know how load-bearing that assumption is? Planet Fitness finished 2025 with about 20.8 million members across roughly 2,900 clubs. That averages out to more than 7,000 members attached to a single building. A large club is around 20,000 square feet. If 10% of that roster walked in on the same Monday evening, 700 people would be standing in 20,000 square feet. That is under 30 square feet each, including the floor space occupied by the machines. The fire marshal's posted occupancy limit would be violated by a wide margin before the treadmills ran out. The business is not underused. It is oversold deliberately, and the non-attendance is not a flaw in the model. It is the model. Now the break-even math, plainly. You take your total fixed monthly cost and divide it by your gross profit per member. A gym with $15,000 a month in fixed costs and $50 of revenue per member needs 300 members to reach zero. Most facilities land somewhere between 250 and 400 active members to break even. The club carrying $42,600 a month needs closer to 1,000. Then reality applies its own tax. The Health and Fitness Association's benchmarking puts annual member retention at about 66.4%. Roughly 1 in 3 members leaves every single year. Half of all new members quit within 6 months, so say you need 400 members. You do not need to sell 400 memberships, you need to sell 400, then sell about 135 more every year, indefinitely, just to stay exactly where you are. At an acquisition cost of $65 to $85 per member, that is $9,000 to $11,000 a year in marketing spend that buys you no growth whatsoever. It buys you standing still, and you will be doing all of it while unprofitable because most gyms take 12 to 18 months to reach break-even at all. So who is actually making money here? Start with the landlord. $336,000 a year, escalating annually, secured by your personal guarantee, indifferent to your member count. The landlord has built a bond and you are the coupon. Then the equipment financier, who sold you depreciating steel at interest and holds a lien on it. Then, if you franchised, the franchisor. Planet Fitness charges 7% of membership revenue as a royalty plus a 2% advertising fund contribution. On a median club, doing roughly $1,790,000, that is about $160,000 leaving the building every year before rent, before payroll, before you. The franchisor's margin does not depend on your profit, it depends on your gross. Anytime Fitness runs a flat monthly royalty rather than a percentage, which sounds friendlier, and it is, right up until the agreement's provision allowing that flat fee to convert to a percentage of gross revenue on short notice. Then the billing processor, taking a cut of every recurring charge in the system. And finally, the 2/3 of your members who never walk in. They are the only customers whose economics work perfectly. They are, in the strictest sense, funding everyone else's workout. Notice who is missing from that list. The person who signs the lease, hires the staff, mops the floor at 11 at night, and personally guarantees the debt. So what is the honest verdict? This business is not a scam, and it is not unwinnable. The average United States fitness club produced an operating profit margin of about 22.7% in 2024. Net margins land around 8 to 12% for full-service clubs and can reach 15 to 25% for high-volume budget models and tightly run boutique studios. Planet Fitness franchisees are estimated to clear somewhere around $215,000 to $270,000 per location. Those are real returns, but look closely at who earns them. They are earned by operators with enough capital to buy the high-volume format outright, or enough scale to own 5 locations and spread one manager and one marketing budget across all of them, or enough discipline to run a small studio where the revenue per member is $200 instead of $43. The person this business destroys is the one who loved the gym, who bought a single location, priced it generously because they cared about access, staffed it warmly, and assumed that the people who signed up would come. They will not come. And the model only pays if they do not, which means the owner who most wants a full gym has bought the one business where a full gym is a warning sign. So go back to that arithmetic you did while waiting for a rack. 400 members, $50 a month, $20,000 walking through a door you would own. It was never 20,000. It was closer to 17 after discounts and freezes, minus 28,000 in rent, minus payroll, minus the equipment note, minus 9% off the top to a franchisor, minus 11,000 a year in marketing to replace the third of them who quit before Christmas, and the 400 people you imagined filling that room. If they ever actually showed up all at once, you would be finished.